So thank you everyone again for joining us today. I believe that this session will have a recording, which is start already. And so today's session is the Sustainable Development Goal and China Engagement. This session is developed from our recent publication, which is the Sustainable Development Goal and China Engagement, and updated toolkit, which is on the right-hand side on the slide over here. And I truly appreciate all of you to join us today because at Gate are the member-based organization. We have a lot of members who are from different regions, and some of them had to join this session very late or very early in the morning. So thank you very much for your interest in this session. And before we start, I would like to say thank you a lot that this report has been the work from the human rights team, including myself, human rights officer, and Levan, human rights lead, and our com director Nevan, and also com officer Andrello, and also the beautiful content from consultant and from Gates. So let's start with introduction, and I will pass it to Andrello to give you a little bit of support on translation. So my name is Bess Chisanupong Nitivana. I'm a human rights officer here at GATE Global Action for Trans Equality, and I am originally from Thailand. My pronoun is she, her. So I will pass it to Andrello.
Hi everyone, my name is Andreo. I'm the communications officer at GATE, as Bas just mentioned. So I'm just going to very quickly show you how we can work during this webinar. You have seen in the chat a link, and you are also seeing on your screen a QR code. So please use this QR code or the link in the chat so you can actually follow this webinar interpretation in your own language. Then also take note that during the Q&A moment, before you speak, please allow us a little bit of time, raise your hand and say in which language you are going to speak with so that I can, in the back end, quickly change the language. Also, if you experience any technical issues today, raise it during the chat with me, and I'll be happy to support you. Thank you, Best. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I believe we also have our colleagues here. However, I'm not sure Levon can speak. Right. Okay, Levon is also here. That's great. So I'll over to Levon to introduce themselves.
Hi everyone. I'm not sure you can see me. I don't have an option to turn my camera on. But hello everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Levan, pronouns they, them. I'm the human rights lead with Gate, colleague of Best. Back to you, Best.
Thank you so much. So, all right, let's start. So the content that we would cover today is just a very simplified and small, just four of them. But this is the session that, we're trying to make it as much as simplified as possible because this is, some of you may not familiar with the SDG, or some of you may not familiar how trans could relate it to the SDG work and how to advocate. So I do know that we have put the resource or the publication on the website, which you can read it in detail. But for this session, since we have such a limited time, we would have this session as the simplified way for you to understand the fundamental knowledge of how what is SDG and how it works. And to start with, the first content is what are the SDG, and that's leave no one behind slogan matters. And the second one is our close-up, which is based on our report as well. The close-up on the SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 3, health, and also the SDG 5, gender equality, how these example of SDG goal are related to the trans advocacy and easily relevant for us to to use it for advocate for our cause. And the third part is how we can engage with the SDG or the development mechanism step by step. What are the platform? What are the partners we should engage with? And what tools that you need to have? And the last one, I believe that we will not have this part as the record. So you can feel free to, ask any question that you have um, after I present all of these three part. But if you don't have, that's also fine. That's maybe tell that I can teach very well. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's start. So as majority of transgender diverse activists and also trans-led organization, we devote a lot of work on for support our community and our rights. However, sometimes our work is also relevant to the human right mechanism or human right frameworks. However, there are also another framework that you can also use to advocate as well, which is the SDG or Sustainable Development Goal. And to just give you an introduction to this framework, the SDG or Sustainable Development Goal are set up or been adopted with the resolution that talk about the 2030 agenda. This agenda outline the 17 sustainable development with 169 targets with the aim to transform the world into the better place and leave no one behind. And this framework is replaced the Millennium Development Goal, which is the development goal up until the 2015. So the Sustainable Development Goal, SDG, are far more ambitious, trying to achieve a lot of things, and came up with the slogan that you always heard, leave no one behind. So the slogan, leave no one behind, is kind of like overarching theme of SDG. They're trying to include everyone, include every issue, including like no poverty, leave no one behind from access to healthcare, education, gender equality, climate action. And sometimes when they use this slogan, leave no one behind, it kind of overarching slogan that a lot of marginalized community also feel themselves that when they advocate in any place, they always be the one who being left behind. So for example, trans and gender diverse people can use this slogan or can be a part of the sustainable development by positioning ourselves in any SDG and identify the gap that they basically left us behind. So let's see here. These are the 17 goals that the 2030 agenda has outlined. So you can see is from no poverty, zero hunger, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, climate change, urban energy, include a lot of things. However, as I mentioned, the SDG are far more ambitious and trying to be inclusive. However, to achieve these 17 goals is really hard to make it happen. Even the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres himself stated when he launched the SDG Progress Report in 2025, only 35% of SDG target are just on track, and nearly half of it are very slow or alarming far reverse. So I believe that we only have 4 years up until 2030 um, to finish the SDG. So I think right now is a very crucial point to identify why these SDG goals are not be able to achieve within the time frame that they set it up. So it's really also a crucial time for us as a marginalized people or the people who are left behind to identify ourselves or find our position in the development goal or the development framework and say what are the flaw or what's wrong with the SDG to use this as the entry point to include us as one of the factor to make the sustainable development achieved in the next framework. So to give you just a very quick on this slide, this is just as I mentioned, we have 17 goal and 169 indicator. This is the example of the indicator. It's very in detail. However, the funny thing about it is that the language that has been used on the indicator has not truly identified or have the term that directly related to trans and gender diverse people. So now, how can we advocate? We will have to look into it in the next part. So to look into the three example of the goals that Gate had been evaluated and think these are three goals are the most relevant to trans and gender diverse advocacy. Um, One of them is no SDG 1, no poverty. The second one is the SDG 3, good health and well-being. And the third one is SDG 5, gender equality. So let's start with this. When we think about the SDG 1, it the slogan, the what is that? The full slogan is the end poverty in all form everywhere. And when we think about end poverty, poverty is also a trans issue because for the marginalized community, stigmatization, rejection, and discrimination, they are form a part of the cycle of poverty, right? It creates the cycle of the person who not be able to escape from poverty. They could not access to a good healthcare, education. They could not have the ownership in the land or the housing, and they cannot have a formal job or decent work. So because of the stigmatized and discrimination, they trap into the cycle of poverty. So to advocate the trans issue or the trans right within the SDG 1, we can think about look into what are their indicators. So as you can see here, the one of the relevant indicators is the SDG 1.4. They stated that ensure that all people, especially those who are poor or vulnerable situation, have equal right and access to economic resource, basic service, land, property, ownership, inheritance, natural resource, appropriate technology, and finance service, including microfinance. So as you can see, if they want to achieve no poverty, however, they stated that ensure that all people, especially those who are poor and in vulnerable situation, and they don't include trans people in this process to um, do the work to eradicate the poverty. Trans people, we can advocate on this by saying that trans people, we could not secure the employment because we lack of the document that match with our gender identity. And we got the discrimination and stigma in the job recruitment. That is why we cannot have the decent job. And that is why we cannot have the ownership of the housing. And that is why it leads us into the circle of poverty. So this is the first example that we can think about how trans advocacy can use SDG as a tool to advocate our cause. And the second one is the SDG 3. For the SDG 3, as you know, the big slogan is ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all age. As you know, transgender diverse people always have a multiple health challenge, whether it's from stigma, it's from the not understanding of our gender affirming care, and it makes it really hard for trans people to access to gender affirming care or mental health support, specifically understanding the gender sensitive. And many of these are also unaffordable in many countries. And in related to health, trans men and non-binary people also excluded from the SRHR because many countries may have the discriminatory law that not allow them to be who they are. And also some of the services only provided for the cisgender woman. And the last one is that when you want to go to the hospital or to the healthcare clinic, sometimes you will get the discrimination because of your unmatched document based on your gender identity. And these are how we can advocate on our issue based on the indicator of the SDG 3. So the first one is you can look at the, I believe the one that really relevant is SDG 3.7. When this says the universal access to sexual and reproductive health services, you can say, as I mentioned earlier, that trans men and also non-binary trans men, they could not access to these services because most of these services have a stigma or discriminate against a person who are not a cisgender woman. And you can also use the SDG indicator 3.8 when they mention about safe, effective, and essential medicine and vaccines. And you can say that, when trans people trying to access this medicine or vaccine, usually when they go to the healthcare services, they get discrimination. Much more than that, when we think about health, we usually think about data. A lot of data in health services are not segregated by gender identity, but they're segregated by sex at birth. So this is also one of the gaps that you can also identify when you advocate within the sphere of SDG 3. The following one, which is the last one, and is tell for itself because SDG 5 try to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. So when they're trying to empower all women and girls, and they do not include trans women and trans girl, or even a person who are uh, assigned female at birth with a gender with a diverse SOGI, this could not be a true gender equality without them. So to advocate this, you can mention that as the indicator, they try to end all form of discrimination against women and girls. They also need to end all form of discrimination against trans women and trans girls. And also, for example, this is also a good one, the indicator 5.5, full participation in equal leadership opportunity. So when you think about the political leadership or the business leadership, you can also use this as an entry point to advocate for the trans leadership or trans politician are usually get stigma and discrimination when they're trying to enter this role. So that is why the government had to try to support more trans representation in politics or even in the business. And in addition to that, the way that we can use SDG 5 more effectively, you can link it into other goals. For example, you can link SDG 5 with poverty, health, education, or decent work, which are also the SDG. And one of the things that I think is really important when you advocate for SDG 5 is that the gender binary that has been used in the language of the SDG 5 has a lot of effect in the way that a lot of country implement the SDG 5, which means that a lot of country, when they think about gender equality, they only think about the heteronormative way of understanding of gender binary. So they would not include, they would only include cisgender woman and girl, and do not include trans people, do not include a woman with diverse sexual orientation. And this is also the way that for us to make sure and to hold the government accountable to make sure that gender equality need to include trans women and girls. And now we move on to the second part. So the second part is how we can engage, and this is the step-by-step that we're trying to lay out for you. So the first one, to engage with the SDG, you have to know who are your partner and who will support you to engage with this. Because as a trans-led organization or trans activist alone, it do not give us a lot of room or the entry point for us to engage. So to engage with the SDG, you need to know the partner, which are the major group and stakeholders mechanism or MGOS. They are the officials or UN mandates institution that serve as the official coordination network of volunteer to support civil society and stakeholder to participate in the UN SDG processes. And they comprise of around 21 constituency. These include the Women Caucus, Children and Youth Caucus, and also include the LGBTI stakeholder groups. And this constituency continue to grow. From last year, I believe that there was a newly established constituency like the Afro-American, Afro descent community, and also they also have the constituency of each regions as well that you can engage with. And one of the things what they will support you in the SDG process is the MGOH can support you to engage with the official HLPF session, which I will explain later in the later slide. What is the HLPF? So they can help you to get the opportunity to deliver the statement at the official HLPF session, and they can also support you how to engage with the SLPF each year. And one of the things they also have among the volunteer within the major group itself, they also divide themselves into the working group. So one of the working group that is really useful for us is with the working group that support civil society to engage with to participate in the VNR session. So they will facilitate all the civil society in the country to come up with the civil society statement and also help them to select speaker who would deliver that said statement. Okay, and the second partner is the LGBTI stakeholder group. As I mentioned earlier, LGBTI stakeholder group is also within the major group and stakeholders mechanism or MGOS. They are also a self-organized coalition of the LGBTI CSO and volunteer. However, I believe that recently they have been sponsored by the LGBT organization that they can form the secretariat staff that can help the work of the LGBTISG. So the LGBTISG, what they do is that they usually organize the monthly virtual meeting. And one of the important things that they do is that they would produce the annual position paper before HLPF each year. So for example, HLPF in 2025, they reviewed the goal SDG 5, SDG 3. The position paper is the paper that trying to document the best practice and also challenge to inform that each SDG are relevant to LGBT cause. For example, 2025, the position paper on the right-hand side, they're trying to show you how the SDG 5 related to LGBTI cause. And one of the things that they also do during the HLPF is organize the side event with the UN agency and also member state that support LGBT rights. And also, if you want to participate in the HLPF in person and you don't have the UN ECOSOC accreditation, they also have the organization within the stakeholder group who can support the accreditation as well. So what I would suggest you to do with the SDG stakeholder group is to apply for the membership through this website and also familiarize yourself with their position paper up to 2026 because they just launched the 2026 position paper a couple of hours ago. So it's really good time for us to organize this session and you can go and have a look at the position paper. And this is the key platform that you can engage with SDG, as I mentioned earlier. This is the HLPF. The full name is the High Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. It serves as a central platform to follow up and also review the progress of the SDG for all of the member states. And so this is also a platform that, they bringing in the minister, the UN agency, academia, and civil society to participate in the review of the progress. And each year they will set up the theme and also a specific SDG that will be under reviewed. And each year also they will also list the country that voluntary participate in the VNR. So as you can see here, for example, 2026, there are 6 of the SDG goal that has been set up to be under review, which is SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, 7, 9, 11, 14, and 17. And the next platform that you can also engage is the UN Regional Forum on Sustainable Development. This usually organized with the regional UN commission. For example, in Asia is the UN ESCAPE, and they also in Africa, Latin America, and Caribbean, the West Asia, and also Europe as well. So for the UN Regional Forum, they usually organize a few months before the HLPF to be a preparatory session and to learn about the stand of the member state or the regional concern or perspective and collect all of this information to inform the HLPF. That is why it has to be organized before the HLPF. And another platform that you can engage is the Voluntary National Review. It's the platform where each of the member state would engage in order to present their progress on the SDG. The words that I use present it because all of them use the SDG as a PR, basically. And then they would come up with a very beautiful national report, how much they achieved so far on 17 goal or even specific goal that they are proud to present. And usually each member state would review 2 to 4 times by 2030. And for the report, before they prepare it, they usually organize the national consultation in the country. And sometimes they also include civil society. Sometimes they would only include civil society who are support them, support their stance, support the government. So you have to keep the eye on the consultation. And for the voluntary national review is also a opportunity for the CSO to engage by collectively write the national CSO statement, and you can also nominate yourself to be the speaker and deliver the national CSO statement. And also, the next one is during the HLPF, there is the official session. So the official session is more restrictive and very procedure in the way that it will be broadcast on the UN web TV, and sometimes you will need the ECOSOC accreditation to enter the room or the specific session. For example, there will be a session that review the progress of the SDG 5, which is feature the UN woman and also the stakeholder, and the member state will take part to deliver the statement to say how much they achieve on the SDG 5, for example. And another one is the side event. For the side event is it can be held inside or outside the HLPF official agenda. And this is where you can form the alliance with member state or international organization. For example, the LGBTI stakeholder group, they usually organize the side event with the member state and also the UN agency. In 2025, last year, they organized the side event titled Sustainable Future, Navigating LGBT Financing with UNDP or SCHR, Spain, and Netherlands. So this is space for you to opportunity for you to be a speaker as well if you engage with the LGBTI stakeholder group, and also a space for you to engage with the member state to support your spotlight report or support your other advocacy. And this is very important when your country participate in the VNR. The spotlight report is the voluntary submission from the civil society and stakeholder to provide the evidence that complement or challenge the official state report or the national report. So you can highlight the data gap, or provide the grounded assessment or community-led monitoring SDG progress in your country. So this is the mind map that I came up with. So as you know, in the middle is the UN and also the HLPF, or the platform that trying to assess and review the progress of the SDG, VNR, the Regional Forum for Sustainable Development, or even the side event. And the government usually engage in these platform by sending their national report or national data, but sometimes it's truth or sometimes it lie. It's up to you to judge. And for the civil society, it's really important for us to engage in this platform. Otherwise, the story about the reality on the ground will be only portrayed by the government side only. So it's really important for us to participate in this process by providing the grassroots-led data collection, present our spotlight report, or even present the collective report like the position paper. So the next part is how can we do now? To summarize, what you can do now is to read the GATE SDG and trans engagement. The toolkit is available on our website. And the second one is to look into the SDG target and also the indicator, and identify the gap of your country, that how much they progress on each goal or each indicator. And also trying to apply to be a member of the LGBTI stakeholder group and other constituency that relevant to you. For example, if you are youth, you can also join the Student and Youth Caucus. You are woman, you can also join the Women Rights Caucus. And also trying to check the HLPF each year, and also see the list of the SDG goal or theme, or the list of the country that participate in VNR. And the next one is to, if your country participate in VNR, please attend the national consultation and also the regional forum to start building coalition or starting to monitor your government stance on how they're presenting the SDG progress on your country. And since you have your own coalition, you can start write a spotlight report. And I would suggest please do the joint spotlight report to make it more creditable, to make it more weight that your data came from the grassroots and came from the ground. And then if you have the opportunity to participate in person, you can also look for the opportunity with the LGBTI stakeholder group or other constituency as well. They have an opportunity for you to engage in this in person. So you can go to New York, to HLPF, VNR, and side event. And after you finish at the HLPF, you should follow up with the ministry of your country to follow up on the progress or what you have present on your spotlight report. And these are the map that the UN has prepared to organize the HLPF. You can see in July every year, and the blue letter is say the high-level political forum. That's when HLPF start. So I would suggest you, if you want to start to engage with the HLPF next year, you can start to write your spotlight report and also attend the national consultations from November. And since SDG, they also one of the UN mechanisms that you can participate. But I believe that you should complement this advocacy with other mechanism as well, such as the human rights mechanism. You can engage with the special procedure, the 3D body, and also the Universal Periodic Review, or UPR. However, we have such a limited time. I would love you to explore more opportunity to learn about these three human rights mechanisms on GATE, especially our Trans Advocacy Week program. And so to sum up, for the SDG mechanism, it's more political and voluntary, and they don't have the legal binding compared to the human rights mechanism. For the Spotlight report, the way they report, the format is flexible, less restrictive, and more narrative, and more like data-driven. But for the human rights mechanism report, they quite have their restriction, they have structure to do it. And also for the government attitude or partner attitude, it's more like a PR for SDG because they want to be the SDG achiever. But once we use the human rights language, sometimes it can be very confrontational for them. And for the CSO protection, the SDG are quite weak because, as I mentioned, it's voluntary. So there is no formal anti-repressal system for you to engage with this. And another one is for the CSO protection is quite strong. When you engage with UPR, you get the protection, 3D body. And for the outcome of the SDG are more broad political declaration. But for the human rights mechanism is more legally binding. For example, the concluding observation or the UPR recommendation. So these are also the key consideration for you to think or strategize how can you use SDG to advocate. What I would suggest is that trying to advocate both of the framework to make it complement between each other. That would be the best way to advocate. And for you to learn more, as I mentioned, you can read our toolkit on our website. You can also apply for the membership to the LGBTI stakeholder group and also its position paper. You can also read the MGOS handbook, which is the specific handbook for the civil society, how they can engage with HLPF. And it's very detailed. Another one, if you want to form or write the Spotlight report, the UNDP LGBTI Inclusion Index, also a very good resource for you to have a look. And also, IFSL, our partner, they also came up with a really great toolkit for you to engage in 2030 agenda. So that's all for me for presenting, and I hope it understand for all of you. And now I will move it back to normal screen and we can start doing the Q&A.